Before the government had confirmed anything, the highways were already on fire. Burning trucks blocked major corridors across western Mexico. Coordinated road closures spread across multiple states within hours. Then the report surfaced. Nemesio Ruben Oseguera Cervantes, also known as El Mencho, the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, killed during a military operation in Jalisco. This announcement signals one of the most significant cartel removals in over a decade, and the response from both sides was immediate. Reports placed the operation near Tapalpa, Jalisco, mountainous terrain offering concealment, limited access routes, and natural defensive advantage. According to Mexico's defense ministry, federal forces engaged CJNG operatives in a firefight where at least 7 cartel members were killed, including Oseguera. 3 Mexican soldiers were injured in the firefight, and heavy weapons, cash, and armored vehicles were seized. Oseguera was reportedly wounded during the engagement and later died during aerial transport. But the real story begins with what happened next. Within hours, narco blockades appeared across Jalisco, Michoacan, Guanajuato, and neighboring states. Vehicles were hijacked and set on fire. Airlines suspended service in some areas, and there were reports of civilians killed and hostages taken. This wasn't spontaneous anger. It was contingency activation. A structured organization executing a pre-planned response. And that leads to the bigger question. What kind of person commands an organization capable of reacting like that? Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes was born July 17, 1966, in Aguililla, Michoacan. He wasn't a public mythmaker. He avoided spectacle. But he built one of the most aggressive criminal networks in Mexico's modern history. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel grew out of the fragmentation of the Mencho cartel in the late 2000s. As older alliances collapsed, CJNG expanded quickly into the vacuum. By the mid-2010s, it was confronting rivals directly and pushing into central and western Mexico with speed. Over time, it embedded itself deeply in methamphetamine and fentanyl production, integrating into cross-border supply chains feeding the United States. The U.S. government placed a $15 million bounty on Oseguera, but for years he remained operational. CJNG distinguished itself through visible force and rapid expansion. It seized control of logistics corridors, including access to Pacific ports critical for precursor chemicals used in synthetic drug production. It challenged state forces directly, ambushes, heavy weapon deployments, and coordinated attacks. By the early 2020s, CJNG had established dominant presence or active conflict zones in a majority of Mexico's states. But geography wasn't its main strength. Structure was. CJNG operated as a hybrid system, centralized strategic leadership, distributed regional cells. That hybrid structure allowed rapid expansion and rapid response. What we're witnessing now is not collapse. It's a recalibration. When a cartel leader at this level is removed, one of 3 outcomes typically follow: fragmentation, controlled succession, or temporary instability followed by consolidation. The next 30 to 60 days will determine which path unfolds for CJNG. Territorial battles, narcotic seizure data, and internal communications between cartel members are the indicators that will show which direction CJNG is headed. The removal of Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, El Mencho, marks the end of a major figure in organized crime. But leadership removal is not structural dismantling. The fires on the highway were not random chaos. They were the first signal of transition. What follows will determine whether this was a decisive blow or simply a shift in command.